Hey everybody, welcome to episode, I believe, 17. I'm going to start doing numbers because it makes us feel more like storied and legitimate, like a real franchise. Episode 17 of OverBOTCH coming upon our final week of qualifiers for the Summer Showdown, and it has been an interesting month. And of course, I am joined as always by the greatest of all root bears and the plexiest of Maddox. All the way across the pond. Such an international cast we have here. Crossing borders, crossing oceans. How are you guys today, first of all?
I'm kind of sleepy.
Oh, we don't need sleepy. Get some advanced GG, Richard.
I had it. I had 2 servings today.
About 5 minutes in, you're already shilling out.
Wait,
come on.
two scoops or 2 servings?
No, 2 servings.
2 full servings. Wow. Yeah. You've had to get a lot of shit done or something?
Yeah, no, you know what it is? It's just like the weather's like really like it's
dreary.
Just not great right now, so it's dreary and the air is really dense, and I'm in a valley. So anyone who knows like farm areas, like if you're in a low-lying area and that weather comes in, you feel it, and it's like everything's like you know, so yeah, no, but overall though, like I'm actually okay. I'm like weirdly tired today though, but sure, that's life. Plex, how are you though? I'm hoping you're doing better.
Doing good. Better weather than you. So yeah, got a lot to go through, haven't we?
Yes, we do. And how did I not even bring up? I'm an idiot. The title of the damn episode is going to be all about this nonsense. Because it was the story of the week, and I know Plex is going to get mad at us for even talking about it because apparently this means all we will ever talk about for the rest of time is the San Francisco Shock. But regardless, it was newsworthy. They did break the regular season streak for regular season games. 20-0. They're approaching Undertaker levels of again asterisk regular season wins. We're waiting for that. Although again, they made it to the end of Midseason Madness, which is cool. They made it to all the way to the finals. So like they're improving. And then a gnarly niner, really. But yeah, I mean, hell of an accomplishment. That is still pretty wild. I do find it rather fortuitous, shall we say, that of course now their next game, literally after breaking the record, is against probably, even though despite their actual standings, probably the strongest team in the West on this meta is probably Dallas, and that is literally their next matchup.
And that's going to be a big test. I mean,
that will be a huge test because
they're totally winning.
One thing I saw, I don't know. I'm sorry, Plex. If you were going to say, I looked at it, San Francisco, and we could take it. Had a pretty, relatively speaking, easy strength of schedule. This meta in particular, there's like this stage. They had a pretty lofty for at least like 3 out of their 4 matches. It was pretty. It was like Paris. Yeah. Vancouver, New York, or something like that.
If you're going to break the streak, you may as well do it this way. So,
if you're going to have someone break it, at least have it be like from the other pretty dominant team in this meta, and not like some fluke from Boston or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, for all the dick I give Shock, they are a talented team. There is no doubt about that, and they are there on merit. I mean, Cropper, Kilo, they've been looking really good.
Yeah,
Violet and Finn seem meta-proof. Like, those two can play near enough anything that's required. My only concern is with Kaluj, because when you look at all the Junker Queen players in this meta, he's sort of been, I wouldn't say bottom of the pile, but sort of in that lower tier, so to speak. Because Mag has looked good. Someone's looked good. A lot of these players have looked really strong with Junker Queen. Kaluj, on the other hand, hasn't been.
But I don't even think even anywhere. I think I get where you're coming from. I don't think it's entirely fair to put him. I wish we had Junker Queen stat. I might be able to pull up the grab bag from there. Ooh. From not this week, but from last week. The grab bag folks had some Junker Queen stats. Actually, I'll share that. I think you have a very valid point. He's definitely not top. I don't think he's near even the bottom. I think he's middle of the pack. For a team that it does so well, I think him as the kind of tip of that spear that the tank is, or whatever, I think he's kind of middle of the pack here. So these are actually really interesting. If you ever want to go on, for those again listening and not seeing the visual version, go check out on Twitter. There's an account called, what is the actual account here? EMGTFI. They an Overwatch League stats person.
That's
And they work with another stats editor to put these grab bag stats together. So if you're one of these people who are like, I'm into someone with the 3.2 batting average, I'm not always that person, but I do find these graphs very interesting. So in front of us, we have the Junker Queen stats from last week. And these are from hour or more of play, and they have hero damage per 10 minutes, final blows for 10 minutes, shake, all these stats, and then they highlight the top 3 or 4 in each of these categories. So you look at someone like Kalush, who's on the winningest team in the West right now. He only finishes in the top in one category, and that was wound uptime of 23%. But everything else, there's a lot of other ones. Hanbin obviously was kicking ass. Was a top finisher.
Hanbin's freaking crazy.
Yeah, four out of these. What is this? Like 10 categories or something.
Dia, I think even on the eye test, it looks scary. And I've said this to you guys. I'm so glad this isn't a joint tournament bracket, because can you imagine Dia against NA on the Junker Queen?
It would be interesting. I mean, not as much as I want to see Smurf versus NA on the Junker Queen.
Oh God!
But that's what I'm. Again, that's just always what I'm looking forward to the most when we get to these internet. But it'll be interesting if we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're even going to see Junker Queen when it comes down to the next international tournament, which will be Countdown Cup and the playoffs and stuff.
I mean, we don't know what the nerfs look like, but so they're not to poo-poo on stats, but there are some foundational issues with the way these stats can't actually do sports statistics.
You're super quiet again, just FYI.
Oh, well,
okay. I don't know if there's anything you because this is I don't know what it is. It's like it goes in and out. Like it'll be like this for 10 minutes and then it'll be back to normal.
No idea.
Boo earns. Anyway,
there's fundamental issues with that. You can't do sports stats like this because they have no context as to, you can't look at an individual hero's performance without the context of the overall output of the team. Because your ability to win within a win condition or within a situational requires you to understand what was your total output in the team, and then what was the output. Did you defeat the other person in the same situation and their relative output? It's why we have in baseball wins above replacement. Why we have a WAR, right? You have WAR stats because it looks at what was the impact of you in that role versus somebody else within that role.
And I guess
these stats actually don't make any sense. Like, here's a good example. So you see Hanbin on fuel with the most damage. Okay. How much damage was created by everybody else? Or let's just make this up. I'm making this up. Okay. Let's just arbitrarily choose Dante. Okay. 86 who's not in the top 3. Okay. But what did the rest of the team do while he was producing that 8,600 damage? Because we know, generally speaking, mathematically, you have to create a certain amount of damage as a team per minute to win. Which means what they should be looking at is what is the relative amount of damage required to win.
Well, this has nothing to do with wins and losses. This is just
your Junker Queen stats are relative to how your team played. You could have lower damage and be a better Junker Queen by leading to more wins.
Right, but that's not the issue here. Nobody's talking about wins or losses here. We're just literally talking about individual.
But it doesn't matter though, because if your game style wasn't reliant on the Junker Queen to put the most damage, your damage doesn't mean you were the best. It doesn't even mean you were good.
Yeah, I will admit I can actually agree with Rich on this one because it's also a case of play style as well. Because you could use the Rampage to say set up the Genji, for example.
Like I see this all the time. A batting average, really stupid. ERA in baseball, really stupid. We've thrown these numbers out because they make sense. Not when you understand how the game works, because you're supposed to look at what do these do with relation to your ability to win? Because
Okay.
you have a lot of damage doesn't mean you're the best. It means that you had the most damage, but that doesn't mean you won. And if you didn't win, are you actually good in your role?
Okay. I can take that. I guess
I hate bad stats. I mean, I studied stats, which makes me kind of a dork. But
no,
you can't do
tons of people.
stats like this. I actually had a talk with somebody over the weekend. He's a kid who's he's starting comp sci, and I took him through how esports stats works, and he started laughing. The kid's like 18, and he goes, "Yeah, it's so weird. It's like everyone's making Google sheets." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "Yeah, they don't have any functions. They haven't built this out. Like, you can't do this because your statistical output of any metric without an understanding of what it actually led to." So in baseball, you always look at run generation, right? What did it lead to? So there's a certain amount of segmentation that has to go on here. You have to think about this right away. I always joke, this is just that sort of like, hooray, the number's big stats thing, and it really doesn't matter. Your final blows for every 10 minutes, that depends on the play style.
Sure. Okay. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, I get it. The stats they're legitimate and like they're a number, but
but here's the other thing. None of this means you're even good at junker. All of this could mean that your team is really good and you're getting the cleanup because it's easier for you to get these numbers. Wins above replacement, stats above replacement. 100 numbers can be really good because his team is really good. That does not mean he is good in himself. I'm not saying he's bad. What I'm saying is your damage might be there because your supports are crazy.
So at the end of the day, these like, again, fair point. These are legit, and you could do something with these, but on their own, these are just a bunch of numbers without context. And without the context,
what I would want to see is
I would want to
see all of these numbers with the amount of heals pumped into these people, at minimum as a control. But again, like I said, like this is actually a very bad way of understanding player performance.
Yeah, I mean, to look at it another way, I mean, look at the Premier League. I mean, the number of times you see teams with like 27% possession. So you see teams with 27%.
He's got the book, folks. He literally has.
Analyzing baseball data with our second edition. I have the first one too.
Yeah.
So you're saying, Plex, you were saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, you see teams in the Premier League, they get like 27% possession and they still win 2-0.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. I mean, to put it this way, the quote-unquote meta for Premier League football is high press and possession. It's like, keep the ball. But it's always a case of you could have like 70-80% possession and not find a breakthrough. But the team with 20-30%.
Because what you need to analyze is the variance, which is why we have stats analyses around this. ANOVA, analysis of variance.
I think Leicester City won the Premier League.
Oh my God.
They did it on a counter-attack play style.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's actually my favorite
example. Just went for it.
Actually, that's a great example. Leicester City really showed where there were gaps in like tracking numbers. And my favorite thing is when they show the pitch and you have like offensive and like each respective end versus midfield. And I'm like, they're the same.
They divide it to thirds,
every single game, because that's literally the structure of the game. It's how you run, because you run slower in the midfield, so it always eats up that third. Like, it's very funny, right?
There's also something to be said probably for and again, I'm not a traditional sports guy, but you do, like you said, you use baseball stats or whatever. The controls are much more consistent. Hey, we're playing on a baseball diamond that has this measure. Usually has everything is the same length, the distance, all this stuff. Meanwhile, over here, each one of these teams played on different map pools that have different strategies, that have different like ways of attack and defending and all this stuff.
I hear you, but there are commonalities. My favorite, the one thing that's missing here is what was the output of the supports.
Sure.
You cannot survive in the game without heals. So we should be looking at that. You cannot look at anything in Overwatch without the impact of heals or damage outside your percentage of damage committed as a proportion of the team, and use that as a variable to understand it. But nobody understands that you do relative ratios because they're like fake statisticians. They're like fake number people. This is a huge issue because you would only do that. So why do you care about KD ratios? They're irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because it depends on what the order was of the operations of the attack.
And it's
Right?
also when you get those kills as well. So you could have a 15 and 8 kill death ratio, but how many of those kills in Overwatch led you to, say, winning team fights? Led
Yeah,
you
or
to
good
capping
example, like
payload?
rampage kills per 10 minutes, or like number of people that you're hitting. People are thinking these as fixed like interval ratio values. That's not how you look at it. The purpose of all sports, I mean, yeah, we talk about baseball, but how are we able to do advanced analytics in hockey and basketball? Because they exist, right? It's that we're not looking at these through advanced means. We're looking at this through like very, very like amateur means. We're like, well, let's just look at how much damage. They're working with the numbers that are shown that they show on like the box score, but everybody knows the box score is useless to understand what happened with a game. So again, like it's one of the reasons why I never like to use this to grade players, because it means nothing. Like, put it this way. There are players who are going to have the lowest numbers here who could be the best Junker Queen players, but their teams, and none of that is here. Like a good example, where's Las Vegas Eternal on this?
God, who's there?
Wait, why does Vestola not have a team?
It's Crowley now.
Crowley. Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, Vestola didn't he get dropped?
Okay.
Yeah, Vestola got dropped.
They got
Crowley's
dropped.
the new.
Hold on, am I just blind? Where's Paris?
I guess they didn't have
Yeah, it says
Crowley.
Here, plus 50 minutes.
Maybe
So
it's because they didn't have enough playtime.
Okay, so who's the worst team here?
Maybe like New York.
Hot was down there, so you want to look away.
The worst team, right? Let's have them as a bad team. Okay. How do you account for the fact that the Valiant stink? You can't, like, we've all been in games where our team are bozos. Your numbers are worse. Does that mean you are bad?
Yeah. I mean, Dia actually does does quote unquote more damage than Smurf, the best team in the league. Yeah.
So think about this for a second.
I think there's also one other thing. There's also the fact of how many teams were running the Brig Lucio backline.
Now take a look.
Because NYXL ran Honor Zen at one point. Mayhem, which we'll probably get to in a little bit, actually pioneered the Honor Zen style.
Yeah.
So that's also a fact. Different healing outputs.
But look at this. Now look at Carnage kills for every 10 minutes. One, arbitrarily choosing the top 3 makes no sense in a value like this because it's a scalar. You have to understand what the variance is, you have to look at centrality. Anybody who does this properly would know that you're supposed to take a color-coded heat at least and take like your top 5 so you could understand the max mins, the baskets, the boxes. You've got to create a box and whisker. You've got to know what the variance is. Is there high level of variance, or are these densely packed? They're just saying first, second, and third, and they're doing this to the second decimal place. Nobody who knows math would ever do that. That's a bad way of math. Now look at Dia's numbers. He's 7.41. Look what that is ranked on Carnage kills for 10 minutes. He's 4th. Okay. Now, I get we got all these numbers. What is the order of priority between these stats? Because they are not all equal. Because they have to have a varying level of explanatory impact on the outcome of a fight or a win. So what it's saying is that Dia, with his like piss poor hero, 1,000 less damage, right, per 10 minutes than Hunbin, is better at killing people in Carnage. So what's the impact of Carnage kills on wins? You see what I mean? Like, everyone's looking at this the wrong way.
Yeah.
How many times do you get tons of damage and nobody dies? Because there's no...
that for sure.
You don't do target prioritization. So like I said, and we'll end with this, man, gaming stats is awful. All of it's awful. They look at this all the wrong way, and nobody bothers to look at existing models that exist for like reasonable quantitative and then like quality quantitative analysis for sports, which requires everything to be broken down into situationals, which is fundamentally missing from the game. Everyone just looks for high spots, and that's what this is.
So, a couple of things before we move on to the next big news.
Useless numbers, ladies and gentlemen.
First of all, Richard, you've missed your calling. You could be a great maths teacher. And second of all, thank you for pronouncing Leicester City correctly.
Wait, how do people say it? How did they say it?
Leicester or whatever.
No, oh,
Yeah, I've heard people call it Leicester.
That Americans, yeah. I
No.
learned
That's awful.
in wrestling,
Thank you
yeah.
for pronouncing it correctly, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
heard
moving
that
on.
a lot when I first like because we did a show in Leicester, and like there were a couple of the boys that were like, where are we going to Leicester or
Name and
Leicester?
shame 'em, come on.
No, I couldn't.
Wait,
even
how
tell
do you
ya.
pronounce the sauce that is Liam Perrins?
That is what? Oh, is this Worcestershire?
Yeah, see, it's got it.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
That's Worcestershire.
We
Go for that.
Oh, don't
Yeah.
forget when I was like 10 years old and I saw it in the fridge, I'm like, Worcestershire sauce, Dad.
You know what though? Like, kudos, man, to your folks for choosing a very reasonable Worcestershire sauce.
My dad likes Worcestershire for sure.
Oh, it's the greatest culinary save. When in doubt,
Oh yeah.
throw some of that in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I forgot to season things.
Bring
No,
back
but
Worcestershire sauce, Chris.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm actually really hard on the way people do like stats analysis, because this is actually why we miss. If you do this the wrong, given how this looks, it leads us to actually assess players' performance and impact and value the
Sure.
wrong
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Which is why we lose out on such. And what this really results in is it bad scouting and bad talent. It's just people following the Buddha check, right? Rubbing their bellies and being like, I feel like this is good. I'm like, guys, how about you learn math? And here's the funny thing, guys. I got a 68 in stats. I'm not even good at this, and I can see this, which really means it
Yeah.
doesn't like I'm bad at this.
It's like,
So
I
if I'm bad
flunked
at this,
mathematics first
like
time out.
I mean,
so
like, I mean, I was a terrible student too. Like, I actually understand the concepts and stuff. But the point is, I'm average.
Yeah.
Like in my field, I know people who are like truly brilliant statisticians. Now, yes, I've sat with like some doctorates and we've rebuilt models together. Like, I'm more of a systems engineer background, so it's like, yeah, I'll build the models and then they help me with the math. But the thing is, I like to think of myself as pretty average. But if you're going to go forth and say you're working on stats and you don't know these things or you're not trying to solve for them, it doesn't mean you're average. It means you're bad,
Mhm.
because I'm pretty average if you're in the field.
Right.
Yeah.
See what I mean? And I just think it results in people grinding on all the wrong things, fighting needlessly, and ultimately missing out on talent. Like, really,
Yeah,
what makes things work.
that's
That's the biggest
heartbreak.
thing.
That's the tragedy of it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, people start getting hung up on and I brought that up because I love learning shit too, because I brought that up as like here's a way we could maybe guys could talk about some of the tanks or whatever, and now we just ended up breaking down the uselessness of these random like useless numbers
Correct.
that everybody
Richard
seems
did.
to glorify. I know.
Well,
right?
but we do
Yes.
this all the time. Like,
That's a very
just
good point.
You know, this happens actually in regular sports all the time. So my favorite example is people looking at ERA. It's a dumb stat that we've held onto in
Okay.
baseball.
just so we know, what does ERA stand for?
It's the earned run average. So it's the
Right.
average number of runs that a pitcher allows in a game. So the problem with the ERA is that it doesn't it has no relative impact or relationship to whether or not a pitcher won or lost a game, right? So like a good example is, how do you can get pitchers who are really, really good, but if they happen to, if in their games, and this happens, like I always joke, if you always win by small, like my favorite example is, and you see this all the time, if you win by small amounts of runs and you lose by big ones, like that's how like run differentials and everything in baseball get really skewed. Your win-loss gets really weird. So it looks like you're a bad team, but well, no, you're not. It just means you get when you lose, you get blown out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Another thing that's really important is the concept of the batting average. Batting averages make no sense in baseball, yet we always refer to them. So they always say it's the percentage of times you get a hit. And that's actually technically not true. It's the percentage of times that in the situation it's counted as an at-bat that you hit something. But it's that you hit the ball at all, not what the hit resulted in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So my favorite example is when you're walked, that's not counted as an at bat. You're walked. It's removed from the number. So the whole problem with baseball is that your denominator is always changing, which is why one of the things we did, and I mean, I'm not my like R skills are like average. So like I'm like, I don't want to build a simulator to calculate the WAR. And my buddies used to always bug me about this. I'm like, I'm gonna just stick with WOBA. It's a weighted on base average. It's not that you hit the ball. It's that it's like What matters is
It's
that
that
you
you
get on
benefited
base.
from that hit.
Correct. So the weighted on base average, what it does is based off of a hit, once you qualify for that, it weights where you ended up on the diamond, first base, second base, or third base, because it's a relative way of understanding how good your hit was, not that a hit occurred.
Yeah. So
You see?
just to put this in a way I could probably translate it. So it's like in cricket, where you hit the ball, and let's apply that to here.
Mhm.
You could say you hit the ball 63% of the times, but it doesn't say how many times you ended up getting a single run, or you may have hit a six, as they call it.
Correct. That's actually, and you weight it
Yeah.
based off of the number of runs
I'd say
generated.
I'm just putting it in ways I
Right.
could
No,
understand.
that's a much better way. Yeah, that's exactly how you would look. That is how we look at cricket, right? We
Yeah.
don't care that you hit it, or even how far. We cared how it was hit, but you don't know how to calculate that. So what you do is you look at how many runs were generated off of the hit. Like cricket's actually really nice like that. So that's actually what we need to get to, because I always joke what these stats result in is what everybody gets at the end of like a bad game when someone's like, I got 4 gold medals. I got the most damage. You got the most damage as a support because you didn't do any healing.
Yeah, I mean,
And everybody died.
I always remember I glanced at a video from Stylosa, and he
Mhm.
was doing these VOD reviews for people. There was one I remember of a Baptiste player complaining he was getting all this damage, and you watch the VOD, he was just shooting. He wasn't actually healing or anything like that.
So wait,
Oh,
despite thinking he was like some Chad, he was like a useless support player.
he was
basically.
absolutely useless. You can actually see
Yeah, yeah.
Stylosa's video. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty awesome. I love
I'll still
that.
go find the video for you guys because it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Well,
no, but
Worried about
that's
that
exactly what it is. And like I said, it leads to bad habits and how we like situational awareness and understanding, and it leads to bad coaching. Like you think about it, if a coach ever looks at these numbers, there's no way you can coach. You
Yeah.
can't even get a reasonable assessment on the other team.
Yeah,
And then when
they're
they're
not
creating
giving
fixed-
you the proper
Right?
So that's
information.
why I
And they're
always
Yeah.
prefer to use the eye test anyway. It's like I've always
Yeah.
said, you could lose, but you could look good losing, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's why I'm like,
And
why don't they just start calculating how much, like, again, I would try to figure out damage that occurs within a team fight and then what the median amount is to figure out what it typically takes to win within a given meta. Right.
Sure.
And then once you understand what that is, you take a look at what drives the ability to create that level of damage among the independent variables
Okay,
that you can see from
real
individual
quick,
Then you'll
players.
have a meaningless, and then you'll have a meaningful stat.
okay,
Yeah, and then what matters is less about the hero versus what the
Yeah.
individual requirement outputs were for each position. And
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
everyone f's up, man, in esports.
okay. So
I'm like, guys,
Richard,
positions.
before we move on to our next section, I would ask a very simple question. So I've always been taught the mean, the mode, and the median.
Median, yes.
Why do you use the median over the other two? Just real quick.
Okay, so well, modal analysis is not that useful unless you're dealing with things where there's a set amount of like there are set counts for every given distribution amount. Like you use it when there's a non-linear distribution. Like are there like like a mode just tells you which number shows up the most, but it means that the numbers have to come up in a rational amount, like a rational structure, like
Right.
6, 10, 12. So you do that when you're just trying to figure out what came up the most, and what you're looking at is you just want to understand the distribution of the most common variable that emerges the most within a set. A mean is what most people know as to be an average. It's when you take all the numbers and you divide it right by
Yeah,
the
add
number
them together,
of
divide by
sets.
the number.
By
numbers.
the count, right? Within the frame. The challenge with a mean is when there's extreme levels of variance or you have a small sample size. Because means are highly variable based off of those two factors. So it's not great to look at them with sports analysis because you may not have enough situations. Like if you're dividing by 30, that's not a very good amount. Measures of central tendency only tend to emerge at an n of 30. So you're actually at the bottom end of stability for a mean. A median
Right.
is the midpoint of the distribution of all variables within the set. So it lets you know, regardless of what the max min was, it just looks for what the literal middle point was. Now, the
Okay,
problem
I've
with a
got you.
median, the problem with a median is that if you have, again, extreme variance and the median just happens to be in the middle, like everyone has 1, everyone else has 5,000, and you just happen to have some arbitrary number at 20, a median requires there to be a relatively normal-ish or
Yeah.
even distribution.
Hmm.
But it's given what we're looking at, where the numbers are kind of close, like, yeah, mean could probably work here. Medians also work really well. You definitely wouldn't do a mode because, again, the selection,
Yeah, because
like
that's the most common number.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. The granularity, it's too granular. But yeah,
Right.
but medians get used a lot because it ignores when there's massive differences between the
Right,
top and the
okay.
bottom. So basically I always tell people it's like what happens when you're doing like a conjoint test like they did for the skins, the
Mhm.
battle pass structures.
Right.
The reason why you need to have individual level choice utility in a distribution is this. Typically, if you ask folks, like 10 people, do you prefer Coke or do you prefer Pepsi? Right? If you take an average of the choices, people will tell you, there's no real difference. It's about 50-50. And I'm like, actually, it's not.
Mm,
Usually the people who chose Coke only choose Coke and will never choose Pepsi. And the
Right.
people who choose Pepsi will only choose Pepsi and never choose Coke. But if you
yeah.
don't look at it at an individual choice level, it averages out to having no impact, but at an individual level has the greatest impact.
Right.
So, like, this is the kind of thing where it's like, I always tell folks, math and stats when it comes to games and situations like this, or in general, it's less about being able to collate and construct a data frame. It's far more important that you've put thought into the framework of what you're trying to express. And that's why I hate esports stats. They're like bad baseball stats where they're like, oh, this pitcher in this situation throws curveballs. I'm like, you don't have enough numbers to
Yeah.
say that.
Hmm.
It doesn't make any sense, right? Like against right-handed batters, no, it works you can kind of do that, but it doesn't actually have explanatory weight on anything, right? But
Well,
what you
you're in
no,
you're in good hands because the next thing we're going to talk about is another stat. But no, hopefully, and unfortunately, I won't be able to give more context. This is from Yiska over at GG Recon. This was done in his Discord. So I don't know the exact process. I know it was based off of the Gladiators' kind of cumulative performance so far this stage. So we talked about last week, we thought that the Gladiators were mathematically eliminated from the tournament. Turns out it's not true. It's very unlikely and a lot of moving parts have to happen. But after the recent results, it's still technically a possibility. So there's some interesting, and this isn't based on like performance, it's just based on win percentage versus certain teams. So for those listening on audio, the current thing is assuming a 3-0 over Paris from this past weekend, which they ended up doing. They did end up 3-0ing Paris. It was one of the first game they've won, I believe, this stage.
In this meta, yeah.
Yep. So if the Glads 3-0 Atlanta coming up in their match this weekend, they still have a 56% chance of making the tournament. If they 3-2 Atlanta, it drops to 37%. If they 3-0 Atlanta and then Atlanta 3-0s Houston, they still have a 45% chance. If they 3-0 Atlanta and then Atlanta 3-2s Houston, drops to 44. We're moving down here. If they 3-2, if Glads 3-2 Atlanta and Atlanta 3-0s Houston, it drops to a 30% chance. And at the bottom, and of course there are other combos potentially in here, if Glads 3-2 Atlanta and Atlanta 3-2s Houston, we dropped to a 29%. So
I have a question.
You're telling me there's a chance, is what is basically at the end of the day.
I have a question. Why does my brain hurt hearing all that?
Because yes, you won't be alone. And it's like it's just interesting. I'm more to paint the idea that like everyone thought Glads were down and out because they went 0-4. And they're not. But it's gonna take a little bit of a miracle though to get them there.
I will say, now I'm no stats nerd, but there seems to be a couple of scenarios missing, i.e. the 3-1 scenario.
Yeah, the 3-1 Atlanta scenario is totally missing for Glads. If the Glads 3-1 Atlanta, and I don't know why that was omitted.
What do these percentages represent?
Their chance of qualifying for the Summer Showdown tournament because they're kind of on the bubble right now.
Okay, yeah, so they have a 45% chance if they 3-0, then Atlanta
3-0's Houston.
Yeah.
I've always been terrible with the whole thing, like when other teams' results affect your placing.
I get that. I think I know what's going on here. The challenge is I can't tell what this actually means because you don't have a percentage chance of qualifying. You either do or you don't. That's why I don't understand what the percentages are, but it must mean something else, right? Like
perhaps
if they're like saying if this situation happens, you don't have a probability, a percentage of making it. You either do or you don't. It's a binary
perhaps
result.
So, and maybe the other, then this part might be on me. Perhaps these percentages are the chance of these results happening based on previous performance.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way the data is presented.
All right, moving on. We're moving right along.
Previous performance, there's a flaw there, right?
Never
That's
mind.
why
That was such a terrible idea.
The dead ball era, you separate wild card.
So, Matt, Florida Mayhem. Shall we talk about that for a bit?
Okay, I thought that was cool. It was a terrible idea. Anyway, moving right along.
Yeah,
we'll touch on the Boston had a quick organizational change for what I feel like is like the third time this season that
professional organization, by the way.
I think honestly, I just think they're just getting ready for next season. I don't see it as anything more than that, right? Because Roy's gone, right? So they're changing over the coaching staff, the head coach, like the assistant coach, head coach. Performance hasn't been great. I think they're just getting ready for next season because they're not making it into anything.
Yeah, I mean, they have a chance to maybe qualify for play-ins and stuff like that if they. They're middle. They're not bottom of the barrel. They're middling. Like if we go to the overall season, I mean, they're 10 out of 13 in NA. I mean, if they have a decent run in Countdown Cup, they could.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you get to save money now.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the story of everybody, right?
Yep. Yeah. No, but I think it's just a matter of they're just doing this now, just getting ahead of things. You've got to remember, this is a team where the organization changed its structure, right? Over, in the last, their ownership has changed. They might have a different direction or a plan, right? They may want to really find folks who are completely local, and that takes a long time to do. So you just kind of get this done, get some pieces done. I don't think it's a matter of we're tired of losing. No, I really do think this is just timing. It's just how it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it affects their performance going forward?
To be fair, I think the lineup in their next game is going to be a factor because Punk has looked really good when he's been playing.
But they're not yet. But they don't let him play. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. That will they let Punk, Crimzo, and they've still got, I think it's Speed Healy? No, Seeker.
Seeker, yeah.
They've got Seeker to come in as well. So will they give these other players a chance? We don't know.
Like they've clearly like leaned towards full Korean for their play. Yeah, for the comm and everything. I get that, but it is interesting. And there was somebody put out a tweet about Punk has survived like 3 or 4 different tank changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
To like main tank, and now even in this new season, and like let the motherfucker play. Like let him go, let him free, don't let him free now, but like yeah, man, like he will be it'll be interesting to see if this is part of a rebuild or a change of direction for next year, if they just stick full Korean and like they let go of like Crimzo and Seeker and Punk. Punk is one of those ones that I would very much watch to get picked up somewhere. Like I could see Houston benefiting from someone like Punk. Like I don't know what the situation with Doge is going to be, but like they're going to need. I have a feeling they're going to want a more robust tank focus line instead of just having Dante flex over to that full time.
Dante one tricky whatever's meta.
Yeah, essentially, and it's been okay.
Yeah.
And we can transition to that. So I was excited this weekend. Houston had a 2-0 weekend. But I wouldn't call it they had a pretty decent 3-0 against Vancouver. which Vancouver still looked okay, but they were on a roll and Houston stopped them. But then they played Atlanta, and it was
chunky,
messy. Yeah,
it was chunky. It was definitely a little bit chunky.
It was reliant on if it wasn't for a few clutch plays, I feel like some of those maps would have very much gone.
Yeah, I mean, my
Atlanta's
long-standing
way.
issue is when you watch Houston play, notice how few heroes they actually play.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you think about it, Merit and Pelican are basically playing the same 3 or 4 heroes since the start of the season. And there's not been really that much difference in what they play. Hey, I mean, the tank has changed time to time.
I mean, yeah,
And the
tank changes with the meta. I mean,
Yeah, it's just a case of they're so limited. So let's say the meta radically shifts to say, for example, you want, try to think of a good example here. Let's say you want a Sombra with, say, a Junkrat, just for example. This probably won't happen, but you get what I mean. Is that
that'd be one hell of a meta. Oh my god!
Can Merit and Pelican then play those heroes?
Right.
We haven't seen them play them yet.
We haven't seen
See
them.
what I
I mean, doesn't mean they can't though. Especially that is a very unique. Oh God, please give me a Junkrat Sombra meta. By the way, holy shit, please.
Oh God,
I just played 3 heroes out my backside here. So.
I know, but like after a year of like pretty standard like hit scan flex, like usually Echo or Genji, and then pretty much Ashe or Sojourn all fucking season. Please give me Sombra Junkrat as meta. Oh my God. Yeah. It would be freaking incredible.
You know you must do.
Yeah, somebody toss it our way. We'll see what the changes are after this.
You get what I mean, though. But
no,
narrow.
That's true. And it's I think it's unfair kind of to say that in this stage because the meta is so
about,
pretty
the
rigid.
season as a whole. Overall.
Yeah. I mean, I would kind of like. I think that is fair. I think overall though, like the some of the damage. Meta have been pretty tight. Sojourn's been strong throughout most of the season. A lot of people have played a lot of Sojourn because it's gotten so much value. So I don't think it's people being like, we can't, or like we can't play. I think it's just like this is what is fit, especially for this season. There was Widow. There was a lot of Widow play in in some of those classic Widow maps in the season before or the stages before. But I don't know. I would think. I would have a lot of faith in Merit's hit scan on almost anything. Pelican, I feel like is good. I would something like a Junkrat. I don't freaking know, man. But like anything like Genji, Echo, Pharah, I feel like would do well.
And technically, we've also got Dante, who could actually play all the flanking.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And let's see if Tracer ever comes back into the meta too. I mean, then you also have Dante's one of the best tracers, to lace up the spandex and whatever the gimmick is in the middle of Tracer's chest. What?
Okay.
What?
No,
speak your piece, young man. No. We don't do a podcast to not talk. You don't do a podcast to not talk.
I mean, do you really think Dante is one of the best tracers ever?
Okay.
I was going to say, Shax is no slouch.
Ever?
I was Shax is up there.
The best to ever lace up the spandex, like better than Striker, better than Peak SBB, better than that guy we don't talk about anymore.
I know what you mean. Okay, so Matt, I'm going to put you on the show.
I mean, I like Dante, here. But
I'd say top 10.
Okay, so Matt, if you had a choice,
that's not being the best of like one of the best.
There's a lot of people who played it though.
Yeah, but but a lot of them were bad. And then what's the gap between the top 2 or the first and then position?
I don't know, stats man. You tell me.
Okay, so Matt, just to wrap this up, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you had a choice between Dante and Shax on Tracer, who would you go with?
I don't know. I think I have to see more Shax. I've seen a little bit.
About? I would take Shax purely because he
clearly, of course you would, because you're trying to piss me off.
No, because when you on the eye test, Shax has always looked the better tracer.
Shax is pretty good.
I don't know, but Dante's got more veteran experience. He's got.
If we go If you're going down
this
veteran doesn't mean you're good. There's lots of people that would make every journeyman like the best at what they do.
And also, I think Rich can agree with me on this. Do you remember season 1 Logic's Tracer?
That was ridiculous.
Logic,
or Striker.
Pulse bomb on the flying fire. It's like Kobe.
That's one of my favorite plays actually. It's still one of my favorite things. Or like Striker on Boston, right?
So
Sabiel B.
Whatever. I'm not.
Or Dante.
You're not going to get me to feel bad about defending my team. So you're coming from the same guy. This is coming from the same guy who said Toronto was going to win the midseason madness flat out.
They might actually do. They might actually do kind of okay at Summer Showdown.
This go round. That if you want to switch gears though, yeah, absolutely. Toronto is looking beefy.
Although did some great work. I was really impressed. You know, like obviously Jesus always good, but although did some really nice Genji work. You know, like in general. Hotba was super solid. You know what I mean? Yeah, I love the idea that we have enough players here in Toronto to like kind of experiment a little bit. It's interesting, right? And it's like a good point of like I'm glad they don't go like totally like off the rails in terms of aggression. I think that is a good thing. But it was clinical, man. Although was very clinical, and now he pulled off his play over the case of the weekend. This meta just works really well for them right now. It does. Yeah, it just works really well. I do think they're more balanced than Vancouver, though. I feel like Vancouver. Didn't you notice in the highlight video, like when they were winning maps, you just saw Aspire rocking the Sojourn?
Oh yeah,
and it came down to him being able to like headshot with the railguns. But when it came down to the all-out brawls, that's where they went down against like Houston. Like when it got like head to head, couldn't hold it.
And I think that's what's built a little bit. I think we were saying it. We've said it earlier in the season too. Like Aspire's been dragging this team uphill on his back, like, and he's just keep tumbling down. This meta just happened. It was like, I think he's been a huge key to their success. They just finally have a meta around him that allows him to pop off like that. But when you're not in a situation where you can do that, it starts to.
It gets weird, right? It gets super weird for them. So. I'm really, I think it'll be interesting because everyone's like, why did Vancouver and Toronto play? I'm like, you've got to get through, like, Vancouver's got to get through everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You're not just going to beat up on, Eternal.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. You eliminate a lot of those bottom teams. That's You're starting in that top 8, baby. So like, it is not going to be an easy road.
Plus,
for
like,
Vancouver,
I can't imagine anything more disgusting than an organization from Vancouver succeeding in Toronto. That just makes my stomach turn.
See, this makes me kind of want to see it though. God,
I
want you to be there and call in live to this podcast as Vancouver's confetti is raining down on the Toronto stage in the heart of this city, and I want to feel your tears.
I mean, it is funny because A&W is actually based in BC. Like their corporate headquarters is in BC.
Are they really? Do you? Oh God, how do you live with yourself for enjoying their fine mascot? Is it just one of the shames you have to live with?
Yes,
you just have to accept it. You just have
wait. Hold on. Are you saying Richard has shame?
a little bit. Everybody has. I know.
It's not our fault. His team's magnetized to alleyways, but hey ho.
I know. Hey, yeah. Oh, lordy.
But no, Toronto looks strong heading into this one. But a team that has not looked super fantastic in this meta, but as a result, kind of took a little bit of a fuck it this weekend. I'll play the video.
I know this is going.
No, like I'm gonna mean that in a respectful way. I think this has been a rough stage for Florida. They played arguably the toughest team in this meta this weekend, and normally, like in early part of this stage, I legitimately like when people would. I didn't like it when they tried the Anazen at first because at the beginning of the stage because I'm like, man, I think it's a throw to do it, but I think at this point when it's hard figuring stuff out. For a lot of teams, this just isn't the meta.
Yeah,
to see to go to truly try, be like, hey, try some signature or some different heroes. let's see if we can not have fun because this is still profession, but to see especially Checkmate just flex around and just say, hey, let's throw this at the wall and sticks, including the freaking Junkrat, which
exactly.
got a little bit of value. Look, got a hell of a tire and everything. It was interesting.
So I'll say this to people in Mayhem called. This match was a free hit. No matter what we knew you're going to go down. You may as well go down in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, kind of.
It was great because Mayhem played some stuff, and Dallas, you'll notice in these highlights, didn't change their comp until Dorado.
Yeah,
all this the entire time, and it was just incredible to watch. I mean, we've got the Paris Hotel and NYXL coming up, but this game, and apparently because Mayhem lost 3-1, Vancouver didn't clinch a spot in the finals.
Yes.
The next bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
And this is an interesting thing. I actually watched the game back yesterday, and I kept track of Checkmate's heroes. He played in the whole series Genji, Junkrat, May, Farah, Echo. That's 5 heroes, right?
Yep.
Doha, Sparkle, and Edison between them only played 4 heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Sojourn, Genji, Echo.
Right, but I don't want that framed. Like, that is not a bad thing to not play a bunch of heroes. Generally speaking, I don't think that's not because they play those well. Those characters play very well in this meta, and they've done that to great success. So like, I don't think that's a knock on Sparkle, Doha,
it's
Edison.
Not them. It's just a case of what I'm saying with that is, as I said, it was only until Dorado did they change their comp
because they didn't need to.
Exactly.
I guess that's my point. I think that the highlight is more. It's like they didn't need to. They were playing what works predominantly in this meta. They were playing it really, really well. They were winning pretty handily, except for this map where they just dropped the spaghettis. But I think this is more and more of a. It really made for a fun viewing experience to see, especially Checkmate flex over, try it, because like I said, I think there's a lot of teams that. And I don't want to think of it as throwing, but it's like when, we're getting to the stage finals, it's looking grim, and they just go, all right, we're just going to play what's supposed to be meta till the bitter end because like we don't want to be seen as XYZ. To see them try it, be like, look, especially against the toughest team, screw it. And you know what? With all the variability in like Checkmate's picks, they should have been 3-0'd in theory. They should have been 3-0'd because it was such an off meta weird pick, but they even picked a map up off him, which was awesome.
Well, the one thing I noticed was you could tell that Dallas weren't really playing. I mean, they seemed confused at times by what Mayhem, because the entire time was because what I mean by that is that you could see there were times in the game where they were unsure how to approach. It's like the Ana Zen on defense for Hollywood, for example. They were like, oh god, we've got to deal with it. It's like they almost didn't know how to deal with the bionic grenade and the nano boost.
Right.
And all these kinds of things. So Mayhem, in a way, by picking the heroes they did, threw Dallas off their game.
Yep.
And it's a case of they were able to brute force the default comp, but on Dorado they had to make the switches.
Yeah.
And
no, I get that.
And it's just really fascinating to see because Mayhem look like they have been working on this. And also, you look at the 2 support lines, Brig Lucio versus Ana Zed, sorry. They both do similar things.
Mm-hmm.
In that you've got the CC from the Sleep Dart and the Kick versus the Whip Shot and the Lucio Boop. But then also, Ana offers more offensive utility because it's a brawl comp, essentially, this Junker Queen composition.
Yes.
Yep.
And you need the AoE healing to get going off. So you need to trigger the Inspire passive, for example. Arnade says, nope. And this, it's got on screen right now, the May Bat Brig was blooming genius. This was genius. I don't know if that was a shot calling thing or if it was a coaching thing, but this was genius.
I don't know. And it worked. In that situation, it frickin' worked. So that it was a lot of fun to see.
And one last thing before we move on, it should be noticed that I actually heard from the coaching staff of Mayhem the reason why they like playing Majed RuPaul together
Mm.
is because you can't telegraph what you're going to be running. If Anamo's in, you know there's going to be a Lucio, a Brig, or some other main support. With Majed and RuPaul in, you don't know.
Sure.
And that is a factor. I mean, but also, checkmate. If Mayhem had won this match, he got man of the match for me.
Yeah. I mean,
Not
you'd
just because of
have
his
to.
flexible picks, but the fact he got value on them.
Yeah. Yeah. There wasn't any time that any of these kind of off meta picks came in and just I don't think any of them ever totally like shit the bed. Pardon my French, but like I don't remember any point where it was like, all right, like that was fun, but you just died 6 times in a row. Let's try something real. Like they all got, like I said, even the Farah got a little bit of value.
Yeah.
It was
And
fun.
like I said, this is the only map where Dallas had to make changes.
Oh, but fuck, bless the Florida Mayhem just for breaking my monotony with this meta. That's the one thing about it, man. It has been a little bit boring to watch. It's the same people playing the same heroes on the same maps every time.
Would you say that Mayhem are now Chengdu hunters?
Yeah,
like
kind of.
A little bit. They have that a little bit of that, like that crate. They're like, in the action movie. They're the wild card, right? They're like, what's this guy gonna do? What is this? They were breaking rules at the start of the season.
Yeah,
they were.
And you can see on the footage now. They had to break out the Casti Echo just to try and do this checkmate. It was great.
Somebody tweeted out, they were like, what the hell? Like, this is literally like a professional game version of ranked when somebody goes, can someone please go hit scan to take care of the Farah?
To be fair, in all this chaos, not as bad as Mayhem versus Shock 2019. Richard, you know what I mean.
Yep. Oh, that was weird.
The 5 damage composition, Solo Mercy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But bless you, Florida Mayhem, for breaking
I
up
don't miss those days.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody misses those days. I don't think anybody misses those days at all. But we now find ourselves looking to the week ahead. We will be heading off to our final weekend of qualifiers. And actually, one of our members in the live chat here has pointed out, we talked a little bit about the Glads. They have a couple chances there. As they pointed out actually on their Twitter as well. Yeah, Paris has a big weight on their qualification too. But Paris, I believe, has to go 2-0 this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing Mayhem in New York.
Yeah, they're playing New York is possible.
It is possible, yeah.
I don't think it's likely, but that's more of like a 60-40, 40% chance Paris wins.
I'll take those.
I think Mayhem's more of a 80-20. I think Mayhem still stomps them pretty good. It's maybe 70-30. Like,
yeah.
That's more of an
that.
assured thing. But like, do Paris can they beat New York?
I mean, that's like maybe it's like a wet noodle beating a wet noodle. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe
noodle
not. Fight. To New York,
wet noodle fight.
But I mean, New York to me have the small edge, like about 55-45, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because Yaki on a Genji is one of the scariest things in the league.
Yeah, I mean, you could like, especially against a team like Paris. Normally, you like against these other teams in the middle and the upper bracket or the upper kind of side of the things. Like a Yaki carry isn't quite enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't deadlift.
It's going to come down to Flora, if anything.
Yeah.
Because we saw in games before. I can't remember who it was, but it was because there was a game where this. Oh yeah, it was Guangzhou. No, with Jimmy. He was either getting the frag or setting up the frag for Guangzhou.
Yes.
So Flora has to do something like that to give Yaki the benefit.
Right. And like I said, normally it don't. But in a game against Paris, a Yaki deadlift, like it would. I think it could happen and would actually make a difference. Like, he could like.
If I were Paris, I'd actually play Wub over Dove purely because Wub was playing the Soldier before the roster got nuked.
Right.
So I would want to see Wub in to play the Soldier.
Yeah.
Because he actually looked really good on it before it all went down.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Glads fans. You're it's the classic. You're telling me you've got 1 in a million, so you're telling me there's a chance.
There's a chance, I know.
It's there, but buddy, between the results that they need to get against like Rain and like Rain needs to get stuff like that, man. Oh, that was the other thing. Like, if off that goofy stat card that I tried to bring up, I realized that the Atlanta Houston game they were talking about was the one from this week, not coming up, and Houston ended up beating Atlanta, so that totally nukes Gladiators' chances as well. In addition to needing Paris to win too, so it is a rough road to qualification for Glads.
Yeah. So
on the bubble though. Is still, I think we're probably looking at our top 8 as they already are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless a miracle freaking happens.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. None of this even matters. This is like some tournament. All that matters is the overall standings heading into the.
It's what
it's playoffs at this point, right? Is really the only thing that matters.
Yeah, and Glads are second. It doesn't.
They're
matter.
locked.
Like,
they're locked.
Like this is like people being like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get into this tournament." That means nothing. Okay,
it 1 point.
Yeah. It would mean something. I would say it would mean something to London, to Vancouver, to either place high or like Cinderella win it, because then they at least, hey, we can hang our hat on something this season.
Yeah, but like think about.
But Greg, to shock to Dallas, to even to Atlanta,
to shock Dallas, teams, Glads,
it doesn't mean
Outlaws,
shit.
Rain,
it doesn't
mean No,
it's
and like here's the thing: the meta's changing. Great, you're Vancouver, you made it. You have 3 wins on the season. Justice has 8. You really think you're gonna pull off a differential to get yourself that 5 to make it?
Yes.
Like again, delusional number stat people making up stuff. I'm like, that's great. I know, blah blah blah. We'll see what happens. I mean, like, maybe Shock will blow it, and like the actual playoffs that actually matter. You know,
Richard, if Vancouver Titans win this tournament, that's an intangible asset for the next shareholder meeting.
It's true. It's true. They could be like, we have a value that has been created.
That's a
You're
callback,
right. You know what?
Folks.
You know what? You're right. Actually, you know what's so funny? And this is the scary thing.
God, it is.
And here's a great thing. I'm actually going to be doing I got to set up the creative for it later, but I'm going to be doing after my little posts last night talking about that blow up that happened, I guess, around 100 Thieves and all that stuff. I was talking, and I'm gonna get it online. I'll actually be doing a Twitter space on that on Friday, along with Aaron Simon.
Oh,
from
nice.
XN. Yeah. We're just gonna talk about the deal of deals.
Yeah.
Right. The deal of deals, like what marketing and sponsorship and what happens with all this kind of stuff, like what this actually looks like, and how to know if the deal makes sense. Yeah. Right. But all that said, though, what is funny is what you just said is going to happen. If this shows up, I guarantee you this is going to be like, we have goodwill. Like it's awful. Like that's why I've been looking at this. I'm like, man, like there's like no way New York can really make the playoffs. Period. You only get 8 teams, right?
Yeah.
8? Is it 8? Yeah.
Well,
so like they don't have a hope in hell.
I mean, for the Summer Showdown, it's 8. Yeah.
No.
I would imagine. It'll be a similar breakdown for playoffs. So it'll be 8 from the West and 4 from the East.
Yeah, because they're gonna mix everybody up, right? Yep. So it sucks. It really sucks. My question though is going into the actual like the actual end of season play, like the real playoffs. Mm-hmm. Where are they all going local to do it, or do they still have to do some on LAN and then end up with only the finalists and
what do you mean?
It's going to depend on health situations. And
that's why they haven't. I think that's why I imagine they haven't given hard details yet. They haven't, until.
Yeah, because the situation in Apex up and down at the minute.
Right.
Yeah.
It's gotten better recently, but who knows what it'll look like a month from now.
Polio. We got polio to deal with now.
Well, we have monkeypox too.
Monkeypox
is out there.
Polio.
There's a new bird
types
flu,
of COVID.
Yep.
There's hemorrhagic rabbit fever that's going through parts of like the West.
I mean, I just have 3 different cases of syphilis, but that's just in my house. So I won't hang around any of the players, I promise.
So to get this this train
like,
back on
so
the tracks.
if we discover any teams had an outbreak of syphilis, we'll be like, Matt.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to steer this train back onto the right tracks. So I'm putting it to you guys. Will Dallas Fuel play the part of Brock Lesnar to Shock's Undertaker?
This weekend?
Okay, yeah, you know what?
That's the match of the week.
That's the
Yeah,
match we're
that's
all
the-
watching.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I effed up when I was like, oh yeah, Vancouver and Houston. That's my match. Nope.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, you kind of forgot about this one, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't think they will.
You think Shock will keep it rolling?
Yeah, and the main
Oh,
reason is that when the Shock, it's if you take a look at their overall performance, there's no
Dude, the map
I
diff
think
is crazy.
look at the
all
map diff.
season.
I think Shock might not lose this season. Like the Patriots that one time,
Yeah,
but then like lose in the playoffs.
sure. I mean, that's been kind of the MO the whole season, like, right? They had a kind of poor kickoff clash. They did well in midseason madness, but dropped it all at the end. They've done well this stage. They could win this tournament. I think
Like Shock have
I don't
only
know.
lost 3 maps this entire stage.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that the 6 is anything
Yeah.
to scoff at, but there's a 6, a 7, and then a bunch of 8. So, but your
Yeah.
variance, right, within one map, it's like that's a quite a big step, because if you think of the interval of 3, what does it take to get another 3 map losses? You have to go into past the cutoff range.
Yeah.
So when you think that's what, remember when I talked about the distributions, right? Their level of being ahead is the difference in the maps they've lost is a whole other tier. So San
Yes.
Francisco
Yes.
legitimately exist on their own tier right now. That doesn't mean Dallas isn't going to put up a great fight, but I don't think Dallas is going to win. I think they might give up. I think they might give up some map play. I don't think it's going to be a sweep or anything like that. But I think San Francisco is going to win.
Yeah, I mean, for all the stick and the criticisms, which can be warranted, I give to the Shock. They have pulled the wins regardless. I mean, it's either saying calling it back to Kaluge. I mean, he's not on the eye test been the best. If I had a choice between Kaluge and Hanbin to win the Junker Queen duel, it'll be Hanbin. It comes down to what's behind them.
Yeah, it's coming around to the surrounding players for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, what DPS lineup are Dallas going to roll out with?
What do they roll out with, right? Yeah.
That's true. I mean, we talk about like the infamous Dallas kind of lack of a hit scan. They've remedied that this season, but it's not. I don't think their hit scan players have been like off the charts with Edison and Gurio, right?
Yeah.
They've been good. I think they've been good, but they're not like that next tier where like I think Proper and Kilo have been putting in that work. That kind of heavy of work.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Backline as well. It's a Shock.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Richard's right. I think that'll be the match to watch. That'll be on Friday. So keep an eye out for that.
But yeah, that is going to be that's going to tell us a lot as well too. At least about, well, they are changing the meta. So I guess, a bit less impactful. But if we go to anything more balanced, then it's San Francisco on a runaway. Their ability to actually dominate without this meta, which is so massive in terms of the debuffs, is what's scary. They're giving up more space, or other teams are doing better when there are massive debuffs. But if anything happens to change that, San Francisco is actually better. This is their weaker meta.
Yeah.
That's what's really freaky about this. This is their weakest one out of the 3 we've seen, right? So far this season.
Yeah.
No, that's true. That's very, very true.
I think San Francisco, like I said, I think they'll pull a Patriots, and I just hope there's a New York Giants somewhere out there that'll make them lose, because that's always fun.
Well, speaking of which, before we head out though, like we talk a lot about NA because all of our kind of home teams are based there, but I do want to touch a little bit. We touched a teeny bit on APAC earlier, but like one thing we notice, let's take a look at these things. Seoul is fucking pounding this stage.
So good, right? Yeah, it's like.
Dude, look at them in Shanghai, and it's like 3 tier breaks between the next.
So basically, it's a. I think we kind of mentioned this earlier. It was going to be Seoul and Shanghai floating at the top.
Sure.
But like, there's no one else.
Yeah.
That's the other issue.
Even the number 3 team is we go from an +11 to a -1 map diff from
which means
stage 2 to
like you're batting 5. It's like you're
Yeah.
at 500, right? And basically
Yeah.
you're right in the middle. You win and you lose. It basically means Seoul and Shanghai are the only ones that actually, when it means they don't give up.
Yeah.
Like, we think about the game very offensively, which is, like, again, the wrong way to think about it.
Sure.
Like, because we always skip the defense. It means they don't lose map. That's crazy. What I think is nuts is that Seoul has not lost a map. And then Shanghai's lost one.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like batting is like at a 500. Like, you're like, it's this or that, unless you're LA.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not LA. You're Valley. I don't even know.
Yeah. China Valiant. I don't know.
But yeah, it's a joke. But I really want to see Seoul and Shanghai go like more head to head, because we've seen Seoul obviously do really well, and with Shanghai's numbers looking like theirs, this is gonna make the problem is it depends. I think the Junker Queen nerfs are gonna be pretty substantial. I think we're gonna see some pretty big shift. But we're
going to see it, by the way. We will see Seoul Shanghai on Sunday.
It's so early in the morning, but I'm going to try to watch it.
Well, the replay is on at 11:30 a.m. Central.
Yeah, but,
EU gang rejoice. We have the
advantage
over you.
I know. But
I think it's going to be wild. I think that's going to be a really interesting game. If it is very one-sided for Seoul or Shanghai, that will just be
very telling. Yeah.
But we'll see.
Those are the games.
At least to the end of this tournament, and then who knows?
Oh.
Well, and we'll have to see what the nerfs and the changes are. But
like I said, they're gonna be.
They have to be big to
Orisa. We want an Orisa meta.
Please give me the horsey.
The one time we want an Orisa meta.
When does Overwatch 2 come out? Because
October 4th.
Overwatch.
I know. I kind of stopped. I played some community games and stuff. I stopped playing ranked. I stopped playing like on my own a lot. Like it's sad.
Man.
It's so it is.
Bad.
I've not even done my ranked placements this season.
I mean either.
Like, the only time I can play is really early in the morning, so I'll log in at 7 in the morning and I only play Bastion or Symmetra.
Just to try to feel something.
Just to try to feel something and be horrible to people who are either very tired or they're just waking up. I'm just like, Bastion.
Yeah.
That's evil, and I like it.
Right now, though, man. It's in a real bad spot.
It's in a bad spot. So
can we confirm that Richard's a heel?
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Yeah, he's a 7 a.m. heel. Those are the worst ones.
Yeah.
But we'll keep an eye on all those games and everything, and we will find out who finally, officially, all that goodness qualifies for the, I was going to say Mid-Season Madness, but no, the Summer Showdown, which will be coming to you live from Toronto. And you can still get about 600 tickets if you want, and just go to the website.
Hey, actually, you know what? I'll do my check right now. Hold on. Let's I'm going to do Ticketmaster.ca. So, yeah, I'll do my daily ticket check.
Now, here's one quick, do all ticket. I don't know back end stuff on that. Maybe they just let you purchase unlimited tickets no matter how many are actually left, or like
no, it has to
should.
Check.
Okay.
I think so it looks like maybe 4-day bowls are empty now. I don't know if those are available on 4 days though, the bowl. I don't think they were.
Okay.
No, they're 1-day tickets. Okay, so I'm going to the 4-day pass. So here, you guys can pretend to buy tickets too. Here, come with me. Buy in the Bell.
Come with me on this journey.
Bell fan zone. So I'm going to the Bell fan zone, and I'm going to buy 50 tickets because it actually checks to see the inventory.
Well, that's good.
Right? Because if you hit next, even if you're not logged in, it will still secure the tickets. So just go to the site and try to buy.
All right, I'm going to try to buy 50 tickets.
50 tickets in the Bell
5 zone. Okay. Yep.
Oh, it's telling me to sign in. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to just sign in for ticket. It doesn't actually buy anything, obviously.
Sit tight. We're securing your verified tickets.
Okay, so I got 50 tickets.
Sorry, we could not find any tickets that meet your requirements.
Richard,
really?
we blame you.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Did we just get a saucy result here? The Bell Fiber. Let me try one more time. Maybe it just kind of funked up.
Yeah, so click on Bell fan zone.
Yep.
And go up to 50.
Nope, we could not find any tickets to meet your. Let me see if I can do 25. Let me cut it in half and see if it.
I hear 25. Do I hear 20? Do I hear 20?
Yeah.
Do I hear 20?
because I definitely want to spend $7,000 on Overwatch League
Ugh.
tickets.
I'm trying to buy 10 tickets at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Just
all right,
for-
I was able to sign in, so like I imagine there's tickets available.
Okay, so I just got 10. While you got your 20. So it seems like
I feel bad for our audio listeners right now.
So it sounds like
we're logging it. Yeah, so I have the option right now to buy 10 or 25. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, 25 in the bell zone.
Interesting. So maybe there's like 50, like 60 something seats left.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. This is taking a long time though. This is next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how people are actually thinking about the tickets. It's like,
Well,
do they want to book on the day? Do they want to book in advance?
Well, what I think is happening now is my theory is, and I've seen this, when this happens, you start comping the shit out of tickets.
Oh,
So
yeah.
these tickets are being given out, which also
I can
lowers the
absolutely get
probability.
50 regular tickets though. That was
Yeah,
no
the-
problem at all.
Oh,
The
hey, let
regular-
me try that right now. I'm going to go in right now. Hold on. You got 50? I'm going to try to
I
buy
have
50
50.
right now.
Yep.
Okay, hold
Yep,
on. Wait for me. Hold
No,
on.
I'm holding.
All right.
I'm holding.
Okay, hold on. $165 for 4-day. It's the 4-day pass, right? That you're
Yeah,
getting.
the 4-day
right?
Gen
Okay.
GA or whatever.
Yeah. Floors. Come on, count faster. All right. I'm trying to get my tickets. It's only $8,200 instead of $14,000.
Yep.
14,500.
Huge savings.
All right. Oh, I got 50
Another one,
tickets
isn't it?
also.
So that we know there's at least 100 of those tickets left.
And the problem is we don't know what the total amount was per section.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets really bad. I actually think they have a lot of things on the floors. They're going to bring people down from the bowl to the floor. It takes for better photos. And move
Wait,
people from
hold
the
up,
bowl
hold
to the
up.
front.
Flag on the play. As I've been sitting here, I just got a notification that says complete your purchase. Tickets are selling fast. Get
Because it's
yours
seeing my
now
thing, 'cause I
before
bought
they're
50.
gone.
Yeah, I know.
I just love that right as we're saying this, it pops up and be like, these are selling so fast. You better be quick.
I know. We just sold
Oh, believe it
100
when I say it.
tickets
We
in
just sold-
30 seconds. I know. No, I honestly, I think they're going to be comping the crap out of these tickets.
I'm sure.
Now, which is a problem because obviously, as you know, right, from the wrestling scene
Mhm.
or any stage show, right, the comp ticket percentage that show up, especially for a multi-day event, it is like exponentially lower. Right, you just don't, because you haven't put any value into it. It's like a home maybe. They'll probably show up on the Sunday. I am predicting a horrifying looking arena on Thursday,
Yeah.
the first day. It's going to be bad.
Well, we shall see.
Camera
and I
magic,
told you, like,
man.
the hotel fees are the hotels are a little bit expensive. But again, I will be there all 4 days, and I will be calling in live for you folks whenever you want. If you ever want, because we're co-streaming. Did we get in on the co-stream?
We did not get an official thing on the
Yet.
co-stream yet. Although, yeah, the last time I got it on like Monday of the tournament. I got the notification. So, worst case scenario, we'll do at least a couple of watch-alongs where we don't actually have the footage, like a typical watch-along. If we don't get the official code.
We'll do it Avast style.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Cool.
So.
No, because like I said, I should be able to get like full service in there. I'm looking at getting a special audio mixer so I can bring in like a third-party mic so we can like talk to people
Oh, nice.
while
That'd
we're
be cool.
there. Camera might be tricky. You know, I can obviously save a lot more data, right?
Sure.
It'll go
No, that's
longer if we
fine.
do it
Yeah.
by voice, but I should be able to bring people in, and I should be able to, like, it won't be like a lavalier mic, but
Does that place have free Wi-Fi? You might be able to piggyback off that.
So they will, but it won't be accessible, right? Because there's going to be too many people at once. But I'm just going to go over the air because once you're downtown core with like I'm like the equivalent of T-Mobile here, Freedom Mobile. So you always get your service. You don't get hit so badly. Like there won't be people, and plus they don't have that many people going to the event, so it'll work out really well. But yeah, it'll be great. Like I'll try to, like I said, we'll test some things out. But yeah, I'm gonna, like, if anybody's coming up or down, or if you're already in, like I know some folks are here in Ontario. I think Chester is here in Ontario. But if anyone's coming into town, let me know. I'm going to be down there at different times from Wednesday through Sunday, like all the way through.
Cool.
Yeah. And your mission, Richard, is to get some player interviews. See if you can get
I can
the player
try.
interviews.
I'm going to be talking to IGS, the local LAN center, who is literally around the corner from Mattamy. So folks want to get together. Like, again, Matt, if you want to spool up a special game night with people who are on site, we can invite them in. Maybe we can convince Advanced GG to give us some stuff for the players involved.
Sure,
Hashtag on that.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So let's figure something out though. But let's just see how it goes. But I'm really looking forward to seeing folks here in our very average but overly ego-driven and sanctimonious and bland city of Toronto.
Woo! Go team!
Yay, Toronto. But if anyone has any food questions, I will tell you where to go and where definitely not to go. We did have a recent mass poisoning event at a restaurant here, like north of the city. So I'll tell you where to avoid. So you do not have permanent.
More on that at 11.
Yeah. Yeah, that was unfortunate. But if anything, IGS people come down because they got consoles, like every console. They got tons of PCs recently upgraded. Would be actually awesome to do sort of like a mixed game night, some online, a group of people locally, and just have a good time. I think we can actually make Overwatch 1 fun if we do it this way.
So when you say upgrade, does that mean they gave the gerbils that power a bit more food?
Yes. Now we're up to guinea pig power.
Woo!
Hey!
That much bigger, more horsepower or critter power.
And on that note,
awesome. Well, again, we'll keep an eye on those games. We'll keep you updated about the look ahead at the Summer Showdown. But until then, everybody take care of yourselves. And that is it for our week in Overbotch. For the greatest of all root bears, for the plexiest of all the Maddox across the sea, and for myself, the Drama King, I appreciate you. And we will see you on the next one. Take care.
bye.
Bye.